Allow me to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Joe. I'll be your host for today's show. And the name of my talk is Procrastinated Marketing. So appropriately, I prepared nothing until like it was 10 p.m. last night, and I said, oh shit, I have a presentation tomorrow. Now, that's not to mean that I encourage everyone to blow off your work, but rather that even this morning, as I woke to, maybe put together a few thoughts so I wouldn't ramble endlessly, I saw something that caught my eye and I started doing that instead. And I think I'm going to share my screen with you to show you what that was. And just let me tell Ann, yes, bye now. And here's my screen share. So I noticed that Kim A. Young liked my card. It just said, ironically, I put off preparing for today's presentation, and she liked it. Now, I know Kim. She came to 10X London. You may remember her from an earlier one. And I wrote to her, you coming to my little talk? She wrote, no, sorry, not today, maybe the next one. I wrote, boo, boo, Kim A. Young, boo, lol. Hey, Kim A. Young, you never joined my little family officially. You coming to premium? Request with marketing. Marketing folks are the worst, aren't they? Why did I share this story? I get that, not everyone is comfortable just kind of riffing and being playful with folks. That's my personality, and that's what I use when I'm engaging with folks. Now, was it really about making a $49 a month sale? No. I like her. I'd like her to be part of these calls. And, $49 is better than a sharp stick in the eye. But each of my last 6 clients have come out of premium. So through familiarity, through talking like this each week, some of you have said, you know what, I actually could use some help. And I might say something today that you're like, oh, you know what, actually, that's a good idea. And we should talk about that. So in my procrastination of doing what I should have been doing, I just reached out to someone and engaged. And that might be the lesson of today's talk, so everyone can go home. For those of you who choose to stick around for even more insights, I'm going to tell you what each of the last 3 and this coming year's main insight from me is. And let me just see. Tugwell is here, and Stockton is here, and Sava is here. Everyone gets screen time today. Freddie Daver, you haven't joined yet. I can't put you on. That's one of the benefits of joining premium. In 2018, my primary, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. My primary message was content is the only marketing left. And what that means is you can avoid every single banner ad, advertisement, zip through, whatever. Back in the day, interruption marketing was the way to get your word across. You put on a commercial, there was no avoiding it. Brought to you by, no avoiding it. The only not avoidable thing I'm aware of these days is a YouTube 15-second ahead of your video thing, if you choose not to pay. I've chosen to pay. So I really have no exposure to commercials. I am only looking at that which I actively want to look at. And so too for your audiences and your clients. So either you have something that's relevant for me right now, or sorry, you don't get any of my attention. I'll find you when I'm ready. Now that could go into, well, how do you find me? And we could talk about search engine optimization and things like that, but that's for another time. The point of content is the only marketing left is you have to tell a story. And so I'm going to tell you that Can you hear Elliot snoring? That's really rude, Elliot. You may have to be woken. Before you can tell your story, you have to know your story. And almost to a client, everyone with whom I work kind of knows their story and know it pretty well. James Carr, you did a really good job. You know your story. You could tell it very effectively. You're an outlier in a lot of ways, I'm sure. But being able to concisely say what your value proposition is and precisely who you're helping is something that few do. And the way you really find it, in my experience, when with a client, is we iterate. I've been working with Sonia for maybe 3 months now on his value proposition. And it wasn't until Thursday that we had an impromptu conversation that he said something and I was like, oh my God, that's it. And it was like, you're right. It wasn't until we just kept like, is it this? Is it that? Is it that? And we had like 2 or 3 ideas. Once that happened, I said, this is the way we have to tell your story. So talking it through with if you don't have a marketing person, get one, or someone with whom you bounce ideas off for strategy. That's a way to get to know your story. And I've often shared my little model for how to get to your, let me see here, your value proposition. I have something I call the first 3 questions, which I'll share again, and I can give you the links afterward. First 3 questions you spend before you spend money on medical device marketing, or any marketing, of course, for that matter. I'm not going to go into depth on this. I've talked about this a lot. What is your key customer insight? What is your source of volume? And importantly, this section. To whom? What's your frame of reference? That. What is the benefit? And how can I support that? So I gave 3 examples for me. To Zachary and Lucas, I'll make it larger because I see, John, you are straining. Joe Hage is the loving parent that gives you all the love and support you can handle because he listens to you, nurtures you, and to the best of his ability, gives you what you'll need to become successful members of society. That's my value proposition to my children. My value proposition to Northwest Sound Men's Chorus is Joe Hage is the high energy front row performer that benefits, sure to delight your audiences because Joe has sung barbershop music for years and has emceed a number of shows to rave reviews. That's my value proposition to someone else. To you folk, to medical device manufacturers and the vendors that serve them, Joe Hage is the medical device marketing consultant that will increase the quality and quantity of your leads because I did this and I did that, etc. But even more than this, which is something somewhat outdated, I could have better things to say than that. Today's because is because you know me, because maybe someone on this call will say, good point, and I should talk with you because I freely share what I know. And I really don't have an expectation for repayment. Call it karma. But when it comes time for someone to need marketing help in this industry, I would think if anyone ever said, hey, Peter, do you know anyone who does marketing for medical devices? You'll say, oh, yeah, you have to call Joe Hage.
I'd say Joe Hage, yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, let me ask you, because I suspect I know the answer to this one. If not for me, who would you recommend?
There's no one else that right now would come to the top of my mind.
Brilliant. That's exactly the fucking point.
Same here.
That's the point.
Mhm.
I'm the guy that you know who. And so when it comes to who does your designs for websites, it's Antonio on your top left of your screen there. He lives in Macedonia. Where the hell is that? Who cares? It's northeast of Greece, you people. You've learned some geography as well.
Near Greece.
But he's top of mind because not only do I work with him, but I've seen his work and I know plenty of designers And I've gone through a few of them, but he consistently delivers value. And that's why when somebody asks, I'm like, yeah, I know a guy. So I know a guy is a really important part of your story by extension. So most important is knowing your story. We talked about that. And telling your story. How do you tell your story? Well, I offer that, let's see, I know what each of you does, and none of you do the same thing. So if we were to have a competition, if you were all competitors, it'd be easy to distinguish among you because none of you completely overlap. But how many people do you know that can help you with your FDA submission? How many people on this call can help you with this FDA submission? Jay Lawrence comes to mind. Someone in pajamas comes to mind. Rob Packard comes to mind. How do you choose among them? Well, some of you might say you select on price. I'd say you select on trust and who you like. In fact, bringing up trust, I'm going to bring in another little anecdote for you. I don't know, it was probably 2006, 7. I was on a plane. And for some reason, I looked out the window and I thought, you know, I don't know that this plane is going to land successfully. And if I were to perish, my great, great sadness would be that I would have never had a chance to teach my children things that I would have wanted to pass on. So I wrote them a letter that later became Dad's 10 Life Lessons. And actually, did I put it? Oh, here's one, because I'm just cleaning up and I just found this. This is my Lucas at that time. And I wrote, rule number 3, always ask yourself, am I proud of who I was today? That was rule 3. Well, rule 7 was trust is hardest to earn and easiest to lose. Without trust, you have nothing. And I wrote this, now I'm going to tell you a little like secret. I wrote this for you people on this call. So in the absence of me having this talk today, each of you would have received this, and I'll probably send it anyhow. I'll read it to you. 14 years ago, I created Dad's Life Lessons for my young boys. I was afraid if I died prematurely, I wouldn't be able to share my thoughts with them. This year, you trusted me when you joined MDG Premium. Trusted I'd bring you value, trusted I'd introduce you to my network, trusted I'd care. Thank you for that trust. Now, what else can we do together this year? Name it. No, seriously. And a stopwatch. I plan to send this out to you because, you know, some people say, well, you know, for the holidays, everyone sends out a holiday greeting. Be ahead of time, send out a Thanksgiving greeting. You're thankful for their business. You're thankful for this and thankful for that. Okay. But let's see, I'm going to find someone who's less active. Okay, well, here's the last one that I did, share screen. For my birthday, I wrote, it's my birthday on Wednesday. And I'm spending the day broadcasting, et cetera, et cetera. But I sent it to everyone. I sent it to everyone because I wanted to have a touch point, a reason to just say, hey, remember me? Because maybe as many as 2 out of 3 premium members are light enough users that I can't regularly and easily get a conversation with them. I have to track them down. Now I have a relationship, I can if I really need to, but they are paying me to be part of this group and not taking advantage of their membership. It's like, how many of you belong to a gym back pre-COVID and didn't go regularly and you got an email saying, when are you coming back to the gym? Why do they do that? They're collecting your money anyhow. Because at some point you might be like, well, shit, I'm not even using this gym membership. I should cancel. If I can get you back, if I can get you engaged. And in my case, the more you engage, the more likely over time, I might say something intelligent. You might say, you know what, I really should engage that guy. That's my business model. And it suits me perfectly because I enjoy talking with you. I mean, I think to a person here, you know, I'm enjoying this hour. You know, I prepared absolutely nothing. I can still say something reasonably engaging and intelligent. And I'm demonstrating, I think, exactly the principles I'm talking about. That the fact that I didn't prepare really for this and I can just kind of extemporize what it is to be doing marketing means probably no marketing. And if I really needed to give you like the works, I could do it. I don't think that's in doubt. So another story I would offer for you is that no matter how specialized your field, that all we really have left to market is ourselves. There are other people who could help you with your marketing. And the fact that I say medical device marketing is actually me kind of cheating a bit. The fact is I can help you with any marketing. I used to sell pudding. I used to sell flowers, yogurt, insurance. Lots of industries have fired me. The point here is I say medical device marketing because I need a hook other than just marketing for anybody. That's like, oh, you're a marketing consultant? Well, you know, I said something specific. But I have the people who work with me like me, typically. In fact, I was working at an ad agency in 2003, 4, and my boss who owned the agency said, there are 2 campaigns. I was in charge of direct marketing. In fact, I have some things that in my cleaning up and purging my house, I found, oh, I forgot about this, and oh, I forgot about that. And they're off to the side. If I have time, I'll show you some things. He said, I'm going to tell you a story of 2 campaigns. One of them, you do a campaign and you get a 50% response rate, which is like 50 times higher than you possibly could. But the client doesn't like you that much. And there's another campaign where you get a 2% response rate and they love you. Which client do you get to keep? You might say, well, 50%, I'll put up with a lot. But he said, I'll tell you what, if they effing hate you, it doesn't matter how good it was. Liking is really important. And to a person on this call, you're all likable. I'm going to share with you now another one of these things that I bring up all the time, and I don't think I've done it with this group, is 6 ways to persuade people and grow your business. This book is one of the most entertaining books.
Did you look at this?
Sorry? Someone say? It's one of the most entertaining reads, and I'll give you the link here. I'll put it in our weekly call so you can get it for yourself if you choose. And it talks about the 6 ways to basically manipulate your friends. I paraphrase. Number 1 is reciprocity. I did something for you. Can you help me out here? It works. I helped you move. Can you help me? It works. Number 2, commitment and consistency. You said you'd do something. Where is it, Larry? Oh, shit, I'm sorry. My dog ate my home. Okay, well, you said you would do my submission. Are you going to do it? If you don't, you look bad. You want to avoid looking bad. If you can get your prospect to say yes, you know this, it's more likely that they'll follow through with a yes. Number 3, social proof. Paint a picture your target can relate to. If COVID goes away, or we all get vaccinated, or the world is better, and I host a 10X again, the social proof is going to be Larry is coming, James is coming, David's coming, Rick is coming, John is coming, Venkat's flying in from India. Are you coming? These are the friends that you see every week. And you can see yourself in this group like, yeah, that makes sense, that I would want to be part of that group. So show people like you doing the thing that you want. It's also, you know, hey, Medtronic is a client, Boston Scientific. Oh, okay, well, that's social proof. Scarcity. I have 1 ticket left to come to 10X for free. Who wants it? Whoever raises their hand first can come. Now, someone's going to throw their hand up in the air because there's only 1 left and I need you to act right now. It's used in lots of things. You think of it as like a car salesman, like the warranty or the special ends today. I'd love to get you this price, but you have to sign now. Another way to motivate someone to do what you want them to do. authority. When FDA shows up, you do what they say. That's easy. I'm going to throw your ass in jail if you don't. Oh, bad. Okay, I'll do what you say. And liking. And the ones I trade on are liking or disliking in my case. And that's fine because I don't need to appeal to the world. I need to appeal to people who want to hang out with me. And commitment and consistency. I said I'll do something for you, and I said that I'll provide value. I said that I'll show up every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, and I have. You expect these behaviors from me. So another little marketing tidbit. I began the call by saying that I have an insight a year that I try to at least have something new. Number one was content is the only marketing left. In 2019, my insight was to record yourself. Record yourself all the time. I'm recording this call, and just maybe there's going to be a 2 or 3 minute stretch where I say something really insightful. I have it recorded, and I can take that little snippet and I can share it. So Michelle, our beloved pajamaed friend, is great about this. And so much of our success, I think, has come from us having impromptu conversations that we happen to have recorded. So here's one. She was telling me about masks, and I'll put it on mute, and I'll make it fast so you can get a sense. But when I recorded it 6 ways, and there is a way to do that in Zoom. And if you want to know, I can take a moment and show you. But I was able to switch between us talking and her showing the screen and just being her and just being me. And it was just a conversation. This is just us talking. I prepared nothing. Now, she, of course, was prepared because she was talking about something about which she's very well versed, which is about masks. And another thing, just kind of an opportunity, is because I have the great big group, when I send out a message next week, it's going to be this. Why? Because it's solid content, and that's what I consistently attempted to deliver to my followers. It just so happens that she said something so insightful that I was like, I have to tell people. I have to tell people. It's not that she's going to pay me to do it, but you can if you want, Michelle. The point here is that
I'm here.
Okay, you're hearing, and I know. The point is, when somebody shares really good content, you want to share it too. And so this takes not only content is the only marketing left, but recording yourself. And she had a little bit of fun here at the end, and just this is like ta-da, and you can see we're having fun. That is just, so few people, I find, in industry especially, are willing to just have fun.
Regulatory and quality people have rarely been blamed for having fun.
Let me ask you, were you able to see the video just now, or did I fail to put the screen back up?
You didn't put the screen on.
Okay, let me do that again. Here, because I wanted to show you how this, just a second. Sorry about that. Here we were just talking, and here towards the, Elliot, I pulled in something that she showed me, and I threw it into the video. That was easy. And here at the end, she's like, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you something funny. And I included it because it shows her personality, and we choose to work with people that, see, we're having fun. People like that, and we don't do that enough, I think. When Cardiac Science was bought out, that was my last employer. When Cardiac Science was bought out, I needed a new job. And I was talking to a mentor of mine, and he's like, so what are you going to do next? And I said, well, I'm, I guess, going to be a consultant. And he says, well, what kind? And I said, well, I don't know. I've done pudding, I've done defibrillators, I've done insurance, it could be anything. He said, why don't you do medical devices? And I said, well, because medical devices are boring. And he said, well, you can make them less boring. And I said, you know what? I can make them less boring. And I would argue that I've made them less boring. You too can make them less boring because we all consume stories. We enjoy stories. We tune in for stories. Stories are interesting. If I went on and on about graphs and showed you charts and stuff, I promise you would tune out. But if I throw in at a 10x Animal House as the next clip, you'll be like, well, there's something fun to look forward to. And I suppose I can stick around for 5 minutes to actually absorb the real information as well. Keep it fun. Show your personalities. You are the only marketing you have. We want to work with you or we don't want to work with you. Be you. I had, it'll be too hard for me to locate it quickly, but actually, no, I can, and I'll show you how I can. I put up a picture of me and Beth, and it was captured at the very last moment of the 10X in 2017. Let's see. Would I did this way? Let's see. I'm going to put. Let me just try one more thing. Life. I'm not gonna. Well, I'll show you what I'm looking at. And my virtual assistant captures every single post that I put on LinkedIn, which is to say she puts on LinkedIn for me. You've got to get a virtual assistant, folks. I can't begin to tell you how much value she's brought me. I can't begin to tell you how much value she's brought me. So if I thought about it a bit more, I'd remember, actually, you know what? I could probably do it by views or likes. It's one of the most liked things. All right, I failed. It was a picture of me kissing Beth on the temple. And it was about how at the very end of a 10X, she said, let's hear it from my husband. And it was just so sweet of her to do. And I put that picture up, and some people like privately were like, Joe, this isn't Facebook. And I said, well, I said a couple things. The point is that that was one of the most engaged posts I had because it showed me just as a human. And I'm not saying that there's Annie. Annie, say hi to everybody. Unmute yourself. Can't hear you, love.
Hello. Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
Anne is probably the best colleague, associate, boss, employee I've ever had. Ever. My entire career.
Single biggest boss employee. Love it.
Thank you.
She is the one who, that post that I showed you before that I plan to send to all of you about trust, she knows that I send these things out monthly to just kind of stay in touch. And she reminded me like 2 days ago, you haven't done one of these in a while. I completely forgot about it. And she was there. She knows the cadence and she was right there for me. And she has capacity. So if someone else, I know Michelle uses her, Jorg uses her, a few others, Jose does. You have capacity, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And she's got those funky glasses. Where was I? Oh, by showing some of myself, it started conversations that I otherwise might not have had. And it really just comes down to conversations, which brings me to 2020. So 2018 was content, 2019 was record yourself, 2020 is be present. And that is, just as I showed you before, how there was a notification that Kim A. Young said hi. So here I just got another one. I'll share my screen again. My friend Linda Mahoney liked my post. I just have to go back and say, hey, Linda, how are you? How many things have you liked and you never heard from that guy? You write them and say, thanks for the LinkedIn love. What's up with you? That's it. That's just being present. That's being top of mind. That's reciprocity. Joe said hi to me and he wasn't asking for anything. So one way that I actually use that is I have a friend who's right now raising money. And I know a VC who's married to a friend who did the Wharton Follies with me. And I forgot that I was going to ask her to talk to James and if I could get her in touch with Scott. And I saw on Facebook these really great pictures she put up for Thanksgiving. And so I sent her a message and I wrote, "Great Thanksgiving pics." That's it. I'm certain she's going to respond. At which point I can say, you know, by the way, that reminds me, James is a VC, right? I know a guy who, and it happens to be, that's interesting. Let's see what Sue just wrote. Actually, Sue, take off your mic and tell me what you just wrote.
Sorry, Lisa, and I think I emailed, messaged you by mistake. I meant to message the group. What I learned was a simple equation. As trust increases, time decreases, and cost decreases. But as trust decreases, time increases and cost increases. And I learned this lesson while I was preparing for pre-FDA approval with an FDA consultant. During COVID, I was receiving like tremendous bills and I couldn't see any work that was being done. Had it not been for Tedco, who invested in Cartech, I would have been paying them blindly and I would have been out of business. It cost twice as much as what it should have cost for a pre-submission. And I finally was able to work it out and they never charged me anymore. And we met with the FDA with the pre-sub, but my trust is lost with them. So I don't think I'm going to continue to do business with them moving for a full, 510K.
Thank you for that. Well, there's more evidence of Dad's life lesson number 7, how important trust is. I was just talking about being present and how just saying hi is an entree to business. Now, you can say, well, that was a little manipulative. Okay. I don't mind admitting that from time to time I use my good looks and charm to forward my goals.
I could add to that a little bit too, Joe, like just my personal experience with getting connected with the group here. I would say the number one reason I signed up was reciprocity. It was like, you knew Verna, had a relationship with her and invited her on. Verna suggested that it would be good for me to come on and be a part of it too. And then you reached out to me, and from my perspective, it was like, this is something that, Joe puts on this community, puts on these talks every week for it, and has given us a platform to be able to talk about what we do and connect with new people. And it didn't feel icky at all. It was like, it was reciprocal, but it was very natural. It was just like when I saw the MDG premium group, for me, it was just like, well, this is a no-brainer. It's like, this is a broader way to look at content marketing is to say, like, you're giving the value up front. It's like you, approach an industry or a person or a group of people and say, like, this is the value that I'm going to deliver to you. If you're my customer, then you get even more value, and it just makes sense. So if you're in the circles that the people that you're serving are already in, and you're giving them value up front, that is a really powerful form of marketing. And I think there's sort of a negative connotation to it, but I don't think it feels like trickery or anything like that. It's just like value first. And when you're giving people value, it feels normal to reciprocate.
As long as you're honest, I told you up front what it would cost. I've told people, don't come to 10X because it will not be what you want. Forsaking thousands, but I don't want an unhappy customer on my hands. It's just not worth it. The case of Verna, for example, she was one of my earliest adopters. When I first started the concept and I hadn't built it out, I was just asking $10 a month, just so that it wasn't everybody came for free. And as you know, she's super, super busy. And after a while, a couple of months of her basically not logging on, she said, "Joe, I love you. I think the concept is great, but there's not a point." And I said, "Okay, well, we'll discontinue, but I'm going to keep you on as a subscriber just so that you can see me." She lost the privilege of all of the channels. She could just see me and one channel that I chose for her. I don't remember. And I saw her light go on at one point, and I was just chatting, just saying hi. And I was like, you should give a talk one day. Now, I was interacting with someone that was paying me $0. And she said, you know what? I know a guy who should join us. And why I've siphoned 98 or maybe $147 out of James' car at this point. I've soaked him because I was just being nice to his friend. So I think that kind of stuff works.
Hey, Joe, to go back to value, do you know of any medical device in the history of medical devices that gives a money back guarantee?
Do you?
Yes.
Who?
Cephaly. It's an anti-migraine device.
Does it happen to be yours?
It was.
Did you find that value prop made a difference for folks?
Oh, absolutely. It was fantastic.
Actually, I think in a lot of direct-to-consumer kind of back pain-y kind of stuff, yeah, they do that, money back guarantee. It's just another way of signaling trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did some studies. We know trust factor, but we did some studies, sensation, and some people tolerate it and some people don't. So we didn't want, knowing how social media goes, we didn't want people talking about how bad it was. Going through that
You're breaking up a bit. I'm gonna
information. So we decided on a money back guarantee.
okay. I'm gonna move on to the next thing, partially because you're breaking up terribly and because I want to also cover what my main insight for this coming year is. And I'm going to share that now. FAQs are your best stories. The questions that you get asked all the time are stories that people want you to tell them. So it's not like I have a funny story to tell you and you be the judge. It's how is CarePath similar? Well, this isn't a very long answer, but let's see. One of them is really long. The point is that the answers, and I encourage you all to have a something like this on your websites. And some will say, there we go. This one was a broader answer. Some will say, well, I don't want to give them the answers on the website. I want them to call us so that I can talk with them and then maybe I can convert them. Okay, I understand why you say that. But how many of you, I'm imagining to a person, were considering a purchase, were on a site, couldn't find your answer, and abandoned the site? Not, let me send them an email, let me click on the contact us button, let me tell them who they are, because I expect some sales guy is going to call me back and try to sell me something. That's not what I want. I just want information. And trust your prospects enough that if you prove value to them, they will say, yeah, I need that. So I have, there are some, I was just having this conversation last week with a friend who does a demo. I said, why isn't the demo available on the site? Well, I don't want to do that. Well, why not? Because I want them to sign up for the demo so I know who they are. I understand that, but you could do part of the demo. How many of you, in fact, I'm sure all of you, are familiar, if not with the word, the concept of a freemium model, where you get lots of stuff for free, and then if you want like the really good stuff, you have to pay. So I'm thinking like a dating site. They have it where you can see the eligible bachelors, but if you want to actually receive a message from them, you have to pay. And you're like, well, you can see them all for free. And you're like, oh, Venkat, he is pretty hot. And they're like, if Venkat sends you a message, you're like, I have to read it. I have to read it. I have to pay. I gave you something and you identified something in yourself that said, Venkat's the guy for me. Yeah. And so you ended up paying. So the big insight for, and you know what, James, I think this, if you don't do it already, you probably do because you're you're on top of this stuff, but the main insight that I had with Sonia last week was that he shared with us in his talk, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, that once you fill in the master information in one place, it populates everywhere in a 510K submission, and you're basically a third done your submission. And I said, what if you made that part free? Because everything you have to do for him now, the way it works now, is you have to send him information, you have to tell them who you are, they have to call you, you have to set up an account, then you can use the thing. I said, what if instead you put online, tell me the name of your company, and you put in medical devices group. And I saw a bar move and it said, you're 3% done your submission. Put in your product description. You're now 6% done your submission. Put in your IFU, put in your this, put in your that. And you just begin to see, like, I put in 5 things and I'm 15% done. I haven't mentioned this to him yet. It was kind of a shower afterthought, just as I kind of iterate and think on things, is I would invite him to build functionality where the user can, for free, print out all the pages of the 510K, even with the ones that they have filled out. And what's going to happen is they're going to have it in a PDF form, and they may even be able to manipulate a PDF. That's fine. But they're going to realize I have to change a word in my product description. And then they're going to have to go back and do it a long way. And at some point, someone's going to say, they're going to go to their boss and they're going to say, I was just toying around with this thing. I'm a third done the submission. You got to find $2,500 for me. You just have to. I mean, it has it all there, as opposed to, let me try to sell you on the value of how much easier I can make your submission. So I said, basically, there are 2 sites to build for you. And I'm going to show you my screen again. One of them is, as I do with everyone who can, I put a video. This is one of my favorite sites I built with Brent. I've probably shown it to you before, where I show you the value of his concept right there. You don't even scroll, it's above the fold. 20 seconds, I tell you what this thing is, does, and what the value prop is. If you can do that, great. And so he put together a demo of his thing, and it was 6 minutes long, and I said, no, I don't need all of that. I need just these things. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I think it's this one. Yep. Okay. So this is me having written the script for what I proposed to him. It's too small for you to read, probably. I say, a typical 510K has 20 sections and more than 1,000 pages. Here are 3 SMBA features you need right now. All predicates are searchable. The predicate search function alone is worth your immediate attention. Copy paste your device description and propose instructions for use and get a complete list of every possible predicate device for your submission. Social proof. Customers say this one feature saved me hours of guesswork and hoping I found everything. Now, this is probably the most impressive part of his software. And he said, well, maybe we do that. And I said, well, then I can get the answer and say thank you and go. But this next one, even though it's kind of a lesser, like, wow, all documents are pre-formatted. And notice here, parallel structure. All blank are blank, all blank are blank, all blank are blank. To make it easy for you to, these are the benefits. FDA refuses 25% of all submissions due to, essentially, careless errors. With SMB, I enter data once in the master information section, and it's immediately populated into every relevant field. This word does not belong there. In fact, fill in the master information, and you fill in a third of your submission. Customers say the old way, typing the same information of every page, was so tiring. I'll never have to do it again, thank God. 3, all workflows are seamless. No more Dropbox folders, no emailing updates and requests, no DocuSign. SMBF facilitates every single administrative task, importing, file requests, attaching appendices, approving, signing. All these workflows are integrated. One system, SMBF, has everything. Isn't that better? Customers think so. There's finally someone in regulatory submission software that caught up with virtually every other industry. Thank you, SMVIA. Try SMVIA today and blank, blank, blank. I kind of trailed off there. So there's a place for that. There's that video, which will take about 90 seconds or however long it takes me to read, that you can do that value prop. But what I really see is, actually, here's another one. And I have to go in incognito so it doesn't recognize me. Actually, I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna type in ZZCD, and it's gonna put the URL of the thing that I go to all the time. This is called beef text. I've talked to you about it before. ZZJDE is my email address. jhage@medicaldeviceevents.com, jdx@medicaldevicesgroup.net, this email, that email. What kind of breed do you have? ZZKCK at King Charles Cavalier. LinkedIn, all of these things that I type over and over and over and over again. I have shortcuts for them. So much time. Put in your address, put in your credit card number, put in everything. Okay. The number one free headline analyzer. I want to make a headline for a great blog post. Who are the top manufacturers today? Is that a good blog post title? Oh, okay. Get your results. I have to fill this in order to get my results. Would you do it? You might. There are other ones. I mean, this is just an example of it. And you can see here, these are fields that I have to fill in all the time. So I have ZZs for them. Get my results. Wow, okay, a 70 is really good. Who are the top amazing manufacturers? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, 74. Now I just need to write an article that has anything to do with that. And it gave me this value. And there are other things that this software does, and I know about it and I've sampled it. And this is how they got me in. So what I said to him was, I'd love to see you have a website where it starts like that. It's bold. And it would be, what's the name of your company? Medical Devices Group. And hit that and have then it say, you're 2% done your submission. Wow, really? Let me fill in this next field. What's my product description? Copy, paste. You are 4% done your submission. Really? And you go and you go and you go. And you uncover the next thing. It's not like, here's everything you need to fill out in order to do a submission. That would be overwhelming. No one's going to do that. But if I showed you maybe this and like the next, maybe it says next, your IFU. It's getting a little closer. I think it's fucking genius, but that's just me. It was my idea. There you are. Okay. I am now.
I know you're not looking for a pat on the back, Joe, but that's pretty fucking genius.
Thanks, man. I'm going to now just show you some random stuff from my life. Oh, that sounds interesting, Joe, said no one. I used to keep a really good book of like clips and ideas of things, and these were relevant enough that I thought, this one, satisfaction surveys are a joke. And the punchline is, if you ever ask your customers about their satisfaction, the main question to ask is the following. How likely are you to recommend blank to another person? That's the metric upon which surveys should be measured. Next, no one does mail anymore, but back in the day, you could actually put a Post-it note outside of an envelope. You could mail it like this. And what I wrote is, we should seriously look into imaging. Let's get a meeting set up with these guys this month. I don't know right off the bat what the electronic equivalent of this is, but there's a germ of an idea here. Next, this is a a postcard with a BRC, a business reply card. This was a very inexpensive thing to mail. It was just these two. And what I did was I gave you the value prop. I'm going to send you some free soup. I told you a little bit about the soup. And then all you have to do is take that sticker and move it over there. Now you're like, oh, that's kind of hokey. Yes, it is, but it was a test and people love stickers. This is a known fact in direct mail. And it could be, I have other iterations where it was like, check which flavor you want and just put it in the mail for 2 pounds of free soup. You taste it and it's like, okay, how'd you like that for food service? I'll come back to this one. I'll come back to this one. There's a Citibank envelope. Pay Joe Hage $15. I like $15. I'd open that. This one I really love, and you guys can use this. So this was a fold in thirds piece of crap mail that was stuck in my box, but it said this value prop. Can you spot the $596,000 difference in these identical homes for real estate? And they show 2 identical pictures. And the punchline is going to be something like, you know, this location, that, or that one had electric. And this one is, did you make the same mistake when you financed your home? Can you spot the difference? It's not landscape. How much borrowers unwittingly may pay for this home if they aren't careful was the answer. And he was selling his financial services. So there's a lot of similarity in products. My syringe, his syringe. Can you spot the difference? I think that's a really good one. This was a creative mandatory. This is a sheet I put together for my agency back when I was the client at a soup company. And I said, add emphasis, all ads. And I said, the add emphasis, 40% of the emphasis has to be the food, 20% is the headline, 10% is the subhead, 20% is the logo, 10% is the call to action, and legal has to be on the bottom. What do you learn from this? Only that clear instructions and structure matter, and prioritizing what needs to be communicated. This one just amuses me. I came up with this idea, I never used it, but here we are. Stockpot suit is so damn good. Too bad you can't have any. I want that soup.com. Would it work? I don't know. But there was intrigue, and it was a little throwaway site other than taking them to stockpot.com or, you know, where's Waldo.com, whatever. It could be just a kind of advanced scanners are cool.com. What's so cool about them? I don't know. Let me double or triple your, now this is going to be like, oh, okay, this guy is a sales guy. But if you actually read the copy, and this guy is one of the best copywriters ever, that's why I saved it. The way he has headlines, the way he has testimonials, the way he shows things. This can work for medical devices. You think that's just not how we do it. Screw how we do it. Do it how you do it. Be you. Tell a story. Show the benefits. Help them understand. Show them social proof. In fact, testimony. Oh, there's one in here. Yep. So this one is hotspots. What people actually read. Number one is captions. The captions under your photo. People read captions. Of course, they read the headline, but they read the captions under the photo. So instead of instead of a photo of Sue Carr, comma, president, name of her company, say something like, saving all those bucks for big ink with our products sure put a smile on Sue Carr's face. We did something with it. We gave a benefit even to seeing her pretty smile. Grab attention with a PS. I almost always have a PS on my communications. People read PSs, and well, I'll leave that one. Testimonials work. And the thing with testimonials is, here, I don't think I'm showing my, oh, I see, my screen is frozen. All right, let's see if I go here. I have on my somewhat outdated, I really need to get to it, Antonio. We will, I promise soon. Let's see if that's what you guys see. You see that's a whiteboard. I don't want that. This is what happens when one of my screen went down. Share screen. All right, I'll just do that. I have what clients say about Joe Hage. Now, because it's me, I of course made it a little dumb, and I put pictures of me amusing myself. But then I have all of these testimonials. Now, one thing I'm going to point out to you is, okay, I get it. People like you. This is the point. No one's going to read all these. If you get the impression like, okay, I get it. You have people endorsing you. Fine. Then I put them in order of importance. Carl, shortest sentence. Joe introduced me to $1 million client. Okay. Now here's all of this that Jim has. I went back to the board to fund an entire year more. He found money to pay for me because of how much value I did, how much value he brought, saved us tens of thousands of dollars, most connected and accessible, doubled our requests for quotes, blown away by your techniques and presentation. There's all this stuff, and each of them has a highlight, and each of them is different. In fact, I wrote most of them myself. And I said, do you mind if I attribute this to you? Because I care a lot more about the cadence and how it works and looks than anyone who has time to write this stuff. So write your own testimonials and get people to say what it is you say. Those testimonials that were in Soumya's video, no one said them yet. I just need him to go back to one of his many customers and say, would you be willing to say this? They'll say yes, and then it'll be a testimonial quote. This one is a frequent discussion among people who are writing copy and doing marketing. And that is how many words on a page. You'll like to say, I'm never going to read that. That's too long. And I would say that look at this chart. And it says, as a function of how involved you are with the decision and how much emotion is involved with it, you might want a lot of copy. So for example, what does this say? I know your thoughts, I'd like to know your thoughts on male and female personas. Happy Thanksgiving, Sue. I'll have to think about that in a sec. I wrote a fun post years ago called Too Many Notes. How many of you watched the movie Amadeus? Oh my God, no one on this call? Thank you, Peter. The rest of you, what are you doing with your lives? It's one of the best movies ever.
What about actually listening to Mozart?
Sorry?
What about actually listening to Mozart?
You can do that as well.
Okay.
But the movie is fantastic. And there's one part where the, yay, Michelle's watched it too. There's one part where the Baron says, you know, that was really great. But what is it? What can one say? Too many notes.
Yeah, I think it was the king. Maybe he was sitting in the front row of the audience.
Yes.
And he was bored to death. This had gone on for something like 7 hours. And he was desperate to get out of there. He probably had to pee. And he ended up saying, too many notes, too many notes. In other words, just get to the end of it.
Which notes would you like me to remove?
Well, exactly.
The point of the story was that, you know, if you are looking for information about how to get financial aid for your child to go to college, you'll read it. And if it's just some kind of trivial whatever, you'll be like, okay, I got it. If you're involved in that decision, you'll read it. And so almost to a person, everyone selling a medical device or something for a medical device manufacturer, that's stuff they need. They'll read it. So yeah, you can hook them with short copy, but have the long copy. And FAQs are a great way to do that. So they can select which paragraphs are the ones they're going to spend the time reading. This is one that I bring up often, and I'm glad to actually have the resource because I always say, I know I read this somewhere and I don't know where. This study says, does reverse type affect reading speed? So here's white copy on black, and here's black copy on white. Which of them is easier to read? Your eye gets tired with white on black. And it says the copy with white on black is read 10.5% slower than black on white copy. It's a little design thing, but anything important you have to say, put it against a clear background. And this one is my buddy Bob Bly again. 38 great ideas for your next headline. And these are just, again, you're telling a story, you have to hook them. This first one is ask a question. What do Japanese managers have that American managers sometimes lack? Create new terminology. Use numbers and statistics. Who ever heard of 17,000 blooms from a single plant? I won't read all of these, of course. But in my procrastination for this presentation about procrastinating, I found stuff that was interesting to me. And I was like, you know what, that's relevant. Oh, that's relevant. Maybe my talk was mislabeled. This isn't really about procrastinating. It's about being in the moment, being responsive. I know there are things that I should be doing, but would any of you say that my interaction with Kim A. Young was something I shouldn't have been doing? And it gave her just another, like, you know, insofar as, you know, you might think, oh, Joe's got to be really busy. He's got all those people and he's got clients, but he took the time to care. That's what that trust message from earlier in the call was. And my little secret, Anne's going to send that out for me. She's going to log in as me and send it to everyone. I don't mean it any less, but I don't have to copy and paste that 100 times myself. Anne can do that for me. Get yourself a virtual assistant. Does anyone, now you had a question, Jonathan. You wanted me to talk about male and female personas. Take yourself off mute. I don't really understand what you're getting at. I know the concept.
Joe, talk about female personas.
I don't know.
Can you hear me okay?
Say.
I know I have an unstable connection, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. No, a lot of times in a lot of meetings, I've noticed people having arguments about how they're engaging different types of audiences. And often we hear about this kind of problem solution, especially in the medical device industry. You've got this problem, our product is here to solve it. Whereas we see a lot more products going into the experience of discovering how you emerge out of these issues, or how you fell into these problems and how you will emerge out of these problems. And so I was curious if you had any words of wisdom to share in relation to the different types of personas, specifically this issue around male and female that tend to be very, one is very linear and one is very cerebral, more web-like. There's a lot more touch points and connections.
My short answer is, I know there's a lot of work out there about personas. I'm not the expert to talk to you about them, because a lot of the marketing that I do and a lot of you do is so person to person that I use the Jonathan Saul persona when I'm talking to you, and I use the Rick Stockton persona when I'm talking to him. So much marketing now is one-to-one. And so while you might be talking about a broad campaign, what are the broad campaigns these days? No one in medical devices is doing TV. You might have an editorial. You might be
I was thinking more in the structure of like a website. So, I mean, I've noticed in several websites these days that
okay, you're breaking up again. I'm going to say, so if the medium is the website and I'm talking about how to, you're breaking up. So I think I have enough that when you're talking on the website, how are you telling your story, and is it kind of a female bent or a male bent? I would say that insofar as you have a testimonial from a male or a female, or people of color, and so, to show diversity. I encourage that. But I would say more so, I think I'd rather talk to regulatory people the way regulatory people think, and engineers and marketers the way they think, and not be caught up in their gender. Because, Michelle, are you a female regulatory person, a male regulatory person, or just a regulatory person? Do you want me to talk to you differently because you're a woman? You might say, well, women, I know this is a copy point. When you're talking with women, you use the word believe. When you're talking to men, you use the word think. I picked it up along the way, and I've always used it and remembered it. There are subtleties that are going to be lost on all but like the most attuned marketers who study this stuff. And if you choose to engage them, go ahead and do that. But I would say more importantly is just telling a story as it appropriately reflects the audience with whom you're engaging at a given time. Before we wrap, Sava, why don't you put yourself on camera? Sava is, I introduced you to Antonio, he's my graphic guy, and I introduced you to Anne, she's my right hand. Sava is doing our videos. So any of the ones that you've seen from Michelle or Jose, or when I put the videos up afterward and it's, properly with the logo and stuff and the captions, he's my guy. And he lives in Serbia. What time is it in Serbia?
Right now it's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. So look at my very international group. Annie's in Abu Dhabi at 9 o'clock at night. Sava's in Serbia, and Antonio's in Macedonia. What time is it there, Antonio?
Yeah, it's 6 p.m. Basically, we have the same time zones with Sava, so we are neighbors.
All right, well, good. Anyhow, the family that works together stays together.
Yeah.
I won't belabor the talk for the sake of it. Clearly, I could talk about lots of different topics in marketing. My overriding message for you is know a story, tell a story, use 6 ways to influence people, and testimonials count. It's all about trust. These are major concepts that have nothing to do with medical devices. We apply them, but they're universal truths. And, everyone who's on this call is someone that I know personally, and I'd be happy to work with. So anyone who has watched this video to the end, which is like nobody, but if you are, join our little family here at Premium. We get together each week, and it's pretty much the highlight of my week. So for my American friends, happy Thanksgiving. For my non-American friends, thank you for wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful for my friends all over the world. See you next week. Bye, guys.
Right.